Thank you for tuning in to our fiction segment of Effective Change. Imagination allows for an escape from reality, or a different view of it. You'll find links to the original author's work and their profiles in the description. There are a lot of stories to come, so be sure to hit those subscribe and bell buttons so you don't miss any of them. Some of the stories will be part of a series, and you won't want to miss out. Don't forget to share and comment, and your support is always appreciated. Today's story is titled The Great Albino Takeover, a sci-fi flash fiction, and was written by Kathy Kay. Headline, January 1st, 2010. Albino boy born to black parents. Milo Evans Hill's nickname was Meh, M-E-H. You know, the slang word that means uninspiring and unexceptional. His parents might have named him that on purpose, and who can blame them? Milo popped out of his mom like a ghost with a scream. He was pure white with no color whatsoever. His mom was not impressed. In fact, so not impressed that she rolled her eyes and muttered, "Meh," under her breath, forever branding her son to be of little interest to her or anyone else. She hadn't wanted to birth a freak, an albino boy. So she went about her life just as she pleased, with little or no regard to her all-white son. And Milo grew up angry and determined. Milo was obsessed with fours. After all, his 3 given names each had 4 letters, and while he was still in school, he made a couple of discoveries about fours that helped to solidify his budding plan to take over the world. He found out that the color of one's skin is determined by genetic pigmentation, and that there are only 4 colors possible, along with over 200 various tones, of course. The other discovery that he made is still a secret. Well, except for his trusted employees at MEH, the company that he built from his uncle's inheritance. More about that in a moment. His plan began to take shape as certain things happened in the space of his lifetime. The pandemic of the 2020s, the invention of the android robot that was Asimov's brainchild, and the large inheritance that he received from his rich Uncle Fairhaven. His uncle was also an albino, and Milo was his favorite nephew. Actually, his only nephew, but who's counting? Headline, January 1st, 2040. Albino organization MEH divides the world into 4 parts. Hi, I'm Jim, and I want to tell you how my world ended on January 1st, 2040. At first I couldn't figure out how they did it. I'm not a stupid guy, not by any means, but as I thought long and hard about several possible theories, only one ended up being anywhere near feasible. So it happened that on a particularly hot summer day last year, I concluded that they had somehow slipped it into the vaccine. What exactly they slipped into it is still a mystery, but I suspect that a minuscule DNA tester was inserted into every vaccine and thus inserted into every arm back in the 2020s during that worldwide pandemic. My theory is that the tester gathered the data on a person's skin pigmentation and sent the results to a gigantic supercomputer. And then the data was sorted and categorized until every person was assigned their fate according to the color of their skin. Here's what happened to me. It was a rainy day in the city where I lived then. A day to carry an umbrella, to avoid going shopping, to cozy up with a book by a fireplace. I was in my spacious, comfy den reading and relaxing when suddenly I heard the front door open. What? I had closed and locked that door when I got here a few hours ago, and nobody had the key. So how was it that I heard the door opening? I waited, listened, and heard nothing, until seemingly out of thin air there they were, right in front of me, tall, imposing, intimidating, covered from head to toe in white. Bright white. Glaring white. Obvious white. I'd never seen anything so white. Even their faces and hair were white. And there wasn't just one. There were 6 of them, with assault rifles, white clips, and white ammo. Strange. In shock, all I could do was stare open-mouthed. The only word that came to my mind upon seeing them, actually 2 words, alien or albino. Come to find out later that I was right. Albinos. But back to the story. Apparently they didn't mind my open mouth or my stare because without a sound they approached, skillfully picked me up like I weighed nothing, and strode quickly for the white van parked outside. Soon enough I joined 2 other men, black zip ties effectively keeping me in place for the duration of the ride. It turned out that on the exact same day, all over the world, these white beings abducted every person with no respect to age and hauled them off to their pre-planned and final destinations. The planning on the part of the albino group MEH was meticulous. They left nothing, absolutely nothing, to chance. The human race was divided into 4 parts that day: north, south, east, and west. Brown, black, yellow, and red. Actually 5 if you count the albinos. The equator and the prime meridian now divide the earth, and the albinos live along these imaginary lines, ruling the world and thriving. It didn't pay to have any color on your skin on Doomsday. Headline, January 2nd, 2040. MEH succeeds and conquers the world. On his 30th birthday, Milo Evan Hill had watched from the command center of MEH while his androids swiftly and efficiently scoured the earth and divided it into 4 parts. It was done in 1 day. The world was his, the goal was met, and he was king of everything. He should have been ecstatic. There was just one tiny problem. Really not that big a deal, but necessary to address. In the process of creating millions of androids, no less albino Asimov androids, he'd forgotten that they were more clever than he was. As he was pondering this, Milo Evan Hill stepped into his tiny cubicle and plugged himself in for the night. If you enjoyed this story, show your support to the writer by following the links in the description and sharing it with your friends. Support for this channel is also appreciated.